Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real Talk Live with Arnette D. Love. And we have another special show with our Senate candidate for the 18th District, Mr. Tony Goodwin. Hi, Mr. Goodwin. Welcome.
Hello, Arnette. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Wonderful.
First of all, let me thank you for coming in for this interview. I really appreciate it. I know that your time is valuable, and I know that you're going to be super busy in the next few weeks, so I really appreciate you coming to see us. I do want to say, if any of you are able to join us during this broadcast, or even after you watch the video, please be respectful with your comments. All disrespectful comments will be erased, okay? So we're going to just dive right into it. So Tony, tell us, okay, how did you get into politics? Go ahead and correct me.
Well, Arnette, I can probably tell you that I'm not a politician. I'm a true Hampton Roads native, of course, born and bred right here in Portsmouth, growing up a little bit in Western Branch, out in Chesapeake, and then also graduating high school down in Virginia Beach. And I couldn't wait to get back to Portsmouth. And I made a conscious decision to marry my wife 23 years ago this October, and brought her to Portsmouth as a longtime Norfolk resident. And so I consider that probably one of my biggest feats in life. But I think that getting into politics is not necessarily what I like to call it, but getting into serving my community that I live and work and play in.
Okay, great. So you've been married for 23 years in October.
Yes.
So you'll have kids?
Yes, we have a young daughter who is going into the 11th grade at Churchland High School under the Arts Academy and Arts Scholars Program. And we can't be any happier. She's in the process of celebrating her 16th birthday, so this is a multi-week event. So this is something that we were excited about, and she's definitely been a true believer in everything that we do here in this community. A lot of people know us basically as almost like she is my shadow in a lot of ways, and I think that she is just as involved in this community as I am.
Well, happy birthday, sweet 16. I can remember. It was a while ago, but I can definitely remember. So so you've been back in Portsmouth for a while. So have you served on any boards or commissions?
Well, I listening to one of my former shop teachers, which of course was Bernard Griffin. Okay. We all know Bernard Griffin. Yes. He told me early on in my career of serving in this community, get on boards and commissions. So I jumped right in without any hesitation. I was on the board for Oasis for a while we were identifying a new location for the Oasis Opportunity Center, and also the new facility where they're located at now over off of County Street behind Social Services. I also was put in as the new business association, the Old Town Business Association president for almost 5 years. They actually broke the mold with me because we were in the middle of something called a toll fight with the Elizabeth River crossing. So they kept me on while we fought that. And enough, we'll have a lot more talk about that here soon. Okay. But then, of course, part of the Historic Preservation Commission, part of the rewrite of the guidelines for all of our 5 historic residential districts inside of Portsmouth, as well as the Downtown Design Commission. Oh, wow. So, and there's many more to say. I'm a Rotarian of the Portsmouth Rotary Club, and a 2-time president of that club as well, which we've done a lot of work in this community throughout the years.
Okay, and then you ran for, now how many times did you run for city office?
One time only, as the mayor for 2020.
I should have took heed to that, y'all.
No, I don't say that. Don't say that, because obviously we all have to get our feet wet somehow. Mm-hmm. So, it was something that I was reaching for. Obviously, Bernard Griffin had encouraged me to become a political or in the leadership role within our community. It was encouraged to me to get into boards and commissions first. Okay. But if you had asked me, that I would make the decision to run in a 6-way race as mayor in 2020 during a global pandemic, I would have told you I was probably, you're crazy.
Right.
But I did it, and I said I was going to do it, and I fulfilled everything that I said I was going to do during that race, right up until the end. So we were happy with, we didn't become the mayor, but at the same time we were happy with the outcome. And I say we because this is family. This is all about family in this community together. But I told myself I did it with high regards, with that it was respectable, and at the same time too I came out with an understanding of what I needed to do next. And that was look into other options and other opportunities. And it was ironic that I got that phone call.
Okay, so you did get a phone call. So were you thinking about running before the phone call?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me when I decided to run for state senate, and it was basically I told them, I said I was kind of looking at it back when I was still running in the mayor's race.
Okay.
Just because of the fact redistricting was happening, we were watching it closely to see where the new lines were going to draw. And then at the same time, we also talked about the possibility of an independent run, but the numbers just didn't make sense. And so it was basically the day before my 50th birthday in April that I got the call to say, would you be willing to serve?
Got you.
So.
Okay, so it was almost like, what we call it, confirmation, because it was something that you had already been thinking about, and then somebody else was thinking about it for you as well. So I get it. Okay, so now let's talk about your goals. Well, before we even get to that, let me say this. Your opponent had told me that what she wanted to do if she's reelected for state senator, and she said because she'll be the #1 senator there, she gets to choose what board she's on.
Correct. Which
would be hers. I think her choice is finance appropriation, and her goal is to bring a career technical center here and in Chesapeake. So I know, and I'm not sure if you can be so precise on what you'll be able to do, being that you won't, have that position. But what do you plan on doing if you're elected?
Well, let's agree. Seniority does have its privileges. I get that. I understand that. But new ideals are always good for a community that's ever changing. My father told me time waits for no one, and time will always change the destiny of our future. And so with that being said, I listen and learn on a daily basis. I absorb a lot of information that we've gone through, learning most importantly from mistakes and not repeating those again. That's number one. My professional career is as a real estate agent. I find that Portsmouth is my sandbox. I like to call it home, and I do a lot of business and a lot of work in the city to turn it around. I think you've seen probably some of the developments that I've worked on here in the last 2 to 5 years, and that is the renovation and new addition to Bangkok Garden that is located down on Middle Street was one of my projects during the mayor's race. And now I can say that in the 500 block of High Street, I have completed in the 10-year period basically the revitalization of the entire block of the south side of High Street, and the professional building, which is presently under construction to be turned back into what its grand glory was back in the late 20s and early 30s, to be, of course, residence for some of our folks here in Portsmouth in the building, in the professional building itself. So that's what I bring to the table as experience in economic development, revitalization, understanding the importance of historic preservation and historic tax credits and things of that to get things done. That's how we get big deals done, specifically in an historic city like Portsmouth. Furthermore, I know a lot about the opportunities and the incentives that are all offered throughout our city, either it be through state and federal programs that are just not being utilized and hasn't been utilized for decades, that they've been there and just no one's utilizing them because we're always looking to figure out how to get out of a hole somewhere and try to get to the next step. The real estate and the professional economic world of real estate runs on cycles and runs on trends. So having someone that's been in that business for as long as I have, and our family has been since I was a baby, we want to make sure that we're ahead of the curve and basically ready for the next cycle. And I think we're poised to do that. Obviously, there's talk about things are going to slow down. Then there's times that they say they're going to pick back up. But we need to be prepared one way or the other. And in the real world of economic development, where we really believe there's opportunity when everything has priced itself out beyond, then we want to bring it right back into Portsmouth. Now, this district is not just Portsmouth. It's obviously Chesapeake. So we're looking at places and working with partners in the Western Branch area, where, of course, you have Chesapeake Square Mall. Everybody knows that's the mall that replaced our Tower Mall years ago. But things like that are what we want to be ahead of and making sure. And I can tell you without any shadow of a doubt that the person that's in charge of that is actually doing a wonderful job in creating a new, vibrant area for the citizens of the Western Branch and also Western Portsmouth area. So those are things that I've grown on and can actually bring to the table with new ideas, new fresh approaches. We've been unfortunately stuck in a stalemate where you've got property that the city has owned for 40 plus years that has not been able to do anything with it. I, in turn, have been involved with the latest opportunity that the city is going on for the Innovation District here in downtown. The last 3 to 4 months, conversations have been swirling around how to identify the new development west of Effingham all the way out to the Martin Luther King Freeway, and where to apply some of our best traits. We have obviously health in the new health center down over off of Peninsula and High Street, and also you have city involvement, city buildings such as social services that all contribute to that. It's ironic that you mentioned about the CTE programs and things of career technical institutes. We have already been talking about that as being part of this innovation district, because that's what we need to do. I've said it for years, and my daughter is a perfect example of. She's actually volunteering at the STEM camps this summer. Just dropped her off this morning. So she believes in this, is that we need to get to these kids much earlier than just high school. We need to get into this middle school. And of course, the city of Portsmouth has always been looking at the possibility of a new middle school. So why not take that CTE program and apply it to the new middle school that will feed directly into any of our high schools, such as IC Northam, Churchland, or Manor. So these are we've got to get these kids much sooner, because of course, as you know, and I know, that the violence that's going on in these streets is taking them in a direction that we don't need them to be going any longer. We need to give them hope and prosperity and give them an opportunity to have a chance in life in a way that they can see themselves fitting in. Because for the longest time, and I was told the same thing, get good grades, go to school, and get a good job. Doesn't fit that way for anybody anymore, everybody anymore. It's just it's something that needs to simply open up the opportunities. We've got one of the largest employers right here in our city, and that's the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. And it's just a great opportunity for us to really be the frontier of both Portsmouth and Chesapeake and Norfolk and Hampton Roads as a whole, to build upon what we have and really get these kids engaged in the middle school timeline, because that's where we're going to grow. We've got to make up for a lot of lost time during the pandemic, and so I think that's where I can help champion that with my skill set of being able to know what the real world is looking for. And I have to say, I also am part of the Go Virginia program, which has actually been identifying this situation where there's a lack of good paths for youth to get into CTE. And when they do go to college, a lot of them are coming out with technology and skills in that industry, but then they're leaving our market and going elsewhere because the jobs aren't here. So that's another identifier that I'm going to take and grab a hold of and make sure that they have an opportunity here, because we have the new Navy, which of course not many people talk about. It's technology.
Yeah.
So those are things that I can truly get on board with right out of the gate and apply all the economic aspects of it and the real world of trends and the way things are going and apply them in real time. Okay. Because we're in a business where we're moving like this.
Yes.
It's all about time.
It's something that you said something about where you address CTE. Just this morning in my meeting, we had Star-Based Victory there, and they were talking about because you know that right now it's just at the elementary school.
Yes, it is.
And then it stops until like the 11th grade when the children will be able to do the CTE with the college.
Yes.
So from like 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, there's nothing.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
I see the trends, and you've got to see these trends, and you've got to understand where these trends will dictate your future.
Right.
Because when you have that big of a gap, then you get kids that are not interested, and unfortunately find their ways going into another something you don't want them to do, and that is, of course, just idle hands.
Yeah.
As we all know, idle hands leads to the devil's work.
That's right.
And we want to make sure we have these kids engaged at 6, 7, and 8, because we've already prepped them at STEM, which is a wonderful program that Portsmouth has, and I think can be expanded upon. I know there's a lot of folks that are talking about making our Star-Based Victory opportunity on traveling buses.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, yes, $150,000 to $200,000 bus is a big expense, but guess what? Having someone as an advocate of an already proven program here in the city of Portsmouth and being able to bring back the money necessary to do that and get it out into all of our schools is a wonderful opportunity.
And to expand it, because Starbase is just in Portsmouth right now. It's just in Portsmouth, and they did talk about the bus. They will have one actually July 15th. They would have a bus come out here that we can all go and see.
Yes.
Just so that, you know, whoever's listening will know. I thought I wrote my notes somewhere, but yeah, they'll have a bus July 15th. It's a GoTech bus.
The GoTech bus, yes.
It'll be out here.
They're very proud of that bus.
It's an interactive bus, so take your kids to that, and then you'll know what Tony is talking about. When he's talking, if you're not familiar with STEM, Star-Based Victory, and all that. And then the following week, that bus will be at the museum as well. It's just amazing how things just work together, come together, because we were just discussing this morning. And so I think that's good that you have your mindset on CTE and everything. I personally, that was my campaign pitch right there, you know, making sure that the kids are not just stuck with graduating and have nothing to do, nowhere to go.
Absolutely.
Because everybody is not built for college. I wasn't built for college, even though I went, you know, but that was after I made the decision to go in the military. So I do understand, and I'm glad that you really focus on that. Now, I do real estate. You do commercial, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't done it in a while, but I'm a licensed realtor, I would tell you. So so what you're saying, you're going to focus on the economic growth in our area.
Yes, for both Portsmouth and Chesapeake combined. And, you know, you look at the new district and the boundaries, of course, a lot of people are confused about how this new district looks. Just to give you an example in percentages, 90% of Portsmouth, basically south of the West Norfolk Bridge, and comes down Cedar Lane and Hatton Point Road, and basically all the way south to the Deep Creek Canal Bridge in Chesapeake. And then it also stretches from the Suffolk and Chesapeake line of Western Branch all the way to the Virginia Beach Chesapeake line of the Indian River Road, Sparrow Road area. And that encompasses all of Western Branch and South Norfolk and half of Greenbrier. So when I look at the entire district as a whole, I apply all the great features that we have, all of the great opportunities that we have. And as you know, in the real estate business, we're always about location, location, location. If this district isn't more centralized to this region called Hampton Roads, I don't know what else better is. You know, we have, of course, Mile Marker Zero is a very strategic place along the Intracoastal Waterway up and down the east coast of this country. the Intracoastal Waterway has been a proven lifeline for this country ever since it was formed. And we have it right here at our back door. And then what I also say is that we're simply looking at the Mid-Atlantic region not only being a port an industry leader, yes, and also looking to gain more access to that by simply expanding upon our opportunities in southern Chesapeake, which is also working together with the state of North Carolina and the new interstate that's coming up through 17.
Right.
That is a true future deal maker for a lot of opportunities for us to expand upon and not become so reliant on the military as our major source of income. You know, one of the things that I like to say, and Go Virginia taught us a lot, and the ODU studies also teach us a lot, is that you're looking at a possibility of some of the largest growth in the state right here in our region. Mm-hmm. So we want to be cognizant of that the entire time. And again, following the trends, following the patterns, that's what's important. And that's what I do the best of with my industry and professional real estate.
And that's important because things change. And like you initially said, the ideas, you bring in different ideas, newer ideas.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you do have to make sure that you are basically in touch with what's going on.
Yes.
I get it.
Very much so.
I get it.
So I hope that meets all of your requests or all your questions for my credentials. But let's talk about really one of the biggest things that I think that's most pressing is crime in our city. Uh-huh. And our city has been faced with some of the worst of the worst. This brings me to a story that I simply say to people.
Okay.
Is that you're talking about someone that is basically, I grew up in the oceanfront area and thought I was going into the hospitality industry, tourism-based industry, which is again one of our biggest industries in this region. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring this up is that I don't want to ever hear of a parent having to deal with what my parents actually had to deal with one early Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. with two Virginia Beach police officers standing on their front porch telling them that their son has been shot in the head and he's not expected to live. That happened to me. Mm-hmm. So I know firsthand that gun violence has to be curtailed, has to be stopped. And whatever level we're talking about, and there's always this tug of war between the Democrats and the Republicans and what gun rights should be and what not. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that people that take up a gun and use it in an act of violence is not a law-abiding citizen. Okay. The laws have to be there and in place to not have to have a parent get that phone call or that doorbell ring at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I don't wish that upon anyone. Thankfully, I survived, and I was able to come out and say to my friends, my family, we will overcome this. But some do not, and I think that's we need to.
It was you?
It was me.
Oh my goodness.
It was me. And I sit back and say, do I ever want to take a gun out of the hands of people that actually know how to use them lawfully? Mm-hmm. No. They need to make sure that they have the right to have that gun. But more importantly, we need to make sure we educate our people. And it's not necessarily the politicians that have to do this.
Right.
It's people in our schools that are resource officers, that are teachers, that understand the front line of what these kids are going through. And it's obviously comes with a share of mental issues that need to be addressed early on, being preventative, not necessarily reactionary. And more so, just the sense of family and society and people having a true respect for their family and friends and their neighbors. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a core issue about the conversation beforehand, and that we really want to be able to take and get to them beforehand. And I have to say, I can champion that cause because I truly have lived it.
Right.
But I think there's more to talk about, not necessarily at the political level, but at the family level, at the community level, and really get a handle on this, because there's a true difference between right and wrong. Absolutely. And that's what I'm really focused on, making sure we highlight. Mm-hmm. And
Now, my concern with the weapons, because I carried a weapon for years, and as you have stated, it's not the people that goes through the process of being licensed to carry a weapon or to carry concealed that's actually out here doing these crimes.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I'm all for weapons. I can really shoot too. And so, what would you, when you go to the Senate, what would be your push on that as far as getting things changed?
It's change of mindset that has to happen first.
Okay.
And if, again, we go back to the education piece, we give these youth something to look forward to, aspire to. I'm not going to come out here and be the guy that's going to impress everybody with what I do, I'm here to inspire people to simply sit back and think, what can I do for my community? Mm-hmm. What can I do for my, because we're really looking at fractured families, fractured just lives that have started so young in this mindset of thinking that they have to get out and improve themselves by violence. And a lot of us grew up in the world where, if there was an argument, we argued, but we didn't take and bring a gun to the argument. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to get back to that sense of that sense of understanding the difference between right and wrong. And again, it's not a politician that does this. Mm-hmm. It's the people that are that are working with these. Give the resources to the people that actually can touch these kids on a mm-hmm. regular basis, because that's where it's being fueled. And unfortunately, if we don't get a handle on it, we're going to simply see it just move through society, and it'll just perpetuate and get worse and worse and worse. Right. So, and I think laws are simple and tools for our law enforcement folks like mm-hmm. yourself is just make sure that they still have the same tools. I've been saying it here at our local city council on a number of basis that we have a tool that's in our toolbox that was established back during the Reagan administration and updated in the Clinton administration, and that's safe schools. Mm-hmm. Either it be drug-free or gun-free school zones. Mm-hmm. These school zones are simple tools that we can offer to our police officers, and the new technology that's out there simply states that at 1,000 feet within a school property line or school boundary, that area is safe for those kids mm-hmm. to be there. And of course, if someone comes in there and does an unlawful, basically creates either an unsafe space for drugs and activity of that nature and guns that are illegally owned, not legally owned, but mm-hmm. illegally owned, uh-huh. and or commits a crime with a gun inside, it is a law enforcement tool that they will automatically get, held accountable. Right. At 2 times or sometimes 3 times the laws, the limits of punishment. And I think that you'll find that a lot of people at our age is probably going to say, yeah, I remember that. You didn't do that.
Right.
And they don't know that today. And I share the story about the young boy that ended up getting, 14-year-old, getting shot and killed by a gentleman on Labor Day, I think in 2020. Or no, it's not 2020, 2021. Right beside Parkview Elementary, within feet. Mm. And then the next week, we had a shooting on the playground at Parkview Elementary, right in Parkview.
Yeah, we didn't do that because you knew.
And we knew that was safe space mm-hmm. and off limits, even though the school was out of service, but it still applied. The rules still applied. Yeah. And I think there's some opportunity for us to make sure that this is a message that needs to be put across. Mm-hmm. If it's a public service announcement, if it's reestablishing the boundaries and the signs, something as simple as something that could work through the state police, mm-hmm. A new technology called geofencing, where a police officer, if they're in the boundaries, all they have to do and say, we've arrested someone inside of a school zone, they verify it, check it off, and put it on the summons that they're working on their paperwork. And so when it goes through the process, they'll know that this has to be identified as a shooting or some sort of offense that's inside of that school zone.
Okay. Well, then I'm with you. I quote you when you said changing the mindsets. When I go out and speak to our youth, that's my my goal. That's my platform, changing their mindsets. And a lot of what you said today is an avenue to change their mindset, like providing them with the training, the STEM training, CTE, all that, changing the way they think, giving, like you said, giving them hope, you know, showing them something different.
Yes.
That's important, so they'll know that, hey, I don't have to go down this road, I have choices.
Yes, very much so.
Right, and so it was that you said that really rung with me. And then you said something about the people to teach them and not the politicians. So would you back like grassroots organizations going out to teach these things?
I do all the time.
Okay.
The folks of the likes of Monica Atkins with Stop the Violence 757, Daryl Redmond, I commend those guys for doing everything that they're doing on a volunteer basis.
Yeah. And
because they know where they've got to get to the point of where they need to make an effect change.
Yeah.
And if we can give, that's a tool, again, a tool that law enforcement has, a preventative tool rather than a reactionary tool. I'll take it any part of the day to make sure that they can foster a almost like a viral video of just getting the word out to the youth, to the families, because it has to be it has to be a workable street between both of them,
right,
along the way. And if we have to identify that if there's no family involved, then we need to make sure we bring that youth into a better situation for themselves and give them the opportunity to succeed as much as possible, because it's their future is our future just the same.
Oh wow, okay, and I definitely agree, and when you I'm just so stuck on, like you said, being that you have experienced the effects of violence, you are one that can talk to
passionately.
Yes.
Passionately.
You are one that people should be listening to. Same as with Daryl. When you mentioned Daryl, you know, he's been through some things, and
yes,
we can relate. You know, I'm on the other side. I can listen. I worked inside the jail. I can tell, certain things. So I am just wholeheartedly in agreeing with that as well. And let me see.
Sorry, I threw you off your list.
No, it's fine, because when I call you to come in and talk, I want to make sure that you get everything you need to get out so people can actually see you.
Yes.
And I don't need to do all this talk. I can talk on my own. I'll do my whole hour, but I want to make sure that they hear you.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you for this platform as well.
Absolutely. So now, we pretty much got what you're going to bring back to Hampton Roads, and that's helping us build the economy.
Yes. Okay.
And so tell us, let's see, your overall goal for Senate. What is that, if you haven't said it already?
Well, truthfully, acknowledging that I'm a newcomer. There's no doubt about it. I'm not coming up there saying I'm somebody that I'm not. Again, I'm not a politician. And I am going to be thrust into the world of politics. There's no question about it. But I'm going to come with a realistic approach, that we understand that it's more important to the people that we serve. It's all about we the people. And if I can take one thing to Richmond, is the conversation that I have with you, with the grandmother or the father of a youth that is actually in a troubled situation, or talk about the organization that needs to make sure they can have a clear path to develop property that will actually do good for the community, then that's why I'm serving. I am serving truthfully as a motto that I've learned in the Rotary Club of Portsmouth, and as part of the Rotary Creed, and that is service above self. I'm truly there to serve the people that I will work for on a daily basis in Richmond, with a voice that you can actually trust in, that you can be proud of, that you truly know will be there for you when you need them the most. I really want to say that I also, some people know me from working in transportation, and my passion for making sure that the contract that they set off to do on the Elizabeth River crossings and the downtown and midtown tunnels. Many people, 160 of us from both Chesapeake and Norfolk and Portsmouth, all came together and said, no, that's not a good deal. It's not equitable for everyone that has to live and work on both sides of those tunnels, because it was not going to be as easy as they stated it was going to be. No matter which way you looked at it, it was a 13th house payment. And at the time in 2009 and 2010, when they were proposing to do this, people were having a hard enough time paying 10 house payments from out of 2008. We still believe today it's hurting us. It's hurting our economy, and I think there's a way around it. I know that there's a way around it because I know the contract. I've looked at that contract over and over and again, and there's an opportunity for us as leaders in Richmond to do what's right for the Hampton Roads community on that particular project alone. Don't get me wrong, 160 of us come along and stood up to the Supreme Court of Virginia as they were trying to overturn our local courts to say it was not a good deal. Supreme Court said, nope, we're going to turn it over and we're going to move forward with it. But they changed the way of doing public-private partnerships from there on out. And we told the nation, and the nation actually listened to us as well, because we were allowed enough voice together as a group. You'll have me as that opportunity to continue that charge, continue that fight in making sure that, again, that project and any other project that comes through Hampton Roads for transportation, which is a big hot button all the way from the local all the way up to the federal positions of how infrastructure is paid for with equitable mindsets, and also be sustainable to maintain the integrity of our transportation system throughout the entire state of Virginia. It has to be done, and we have to do it fast. And that's what I vow to bring back to my community on a regular basis in the entire state.
All right. So before we go, I want to thank you again for joining me and putting everything out on the table. Now, if I do a town hall, would you attend it?
The town hall or debate? Yes, I would. It doesn't matter.
You
yes,
will?
I'm on board 110%.
All right, I love it. So would you I'm going to move out the way and I'm going to let you talk to the people.
Okay.
Just say a few things and close us out.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for allowing me to have the opportunity to sit here with Arnette and her followers and listeners as well. And again, I can't share with you enough that I'm truly passionate about Portsmouth and, of course, the Hampton Roads region as a whole. And District 18 has truly shown that it's basically the heart of Hampton Roads. And I can honestly say I'm very proud to be here. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve you. Our election is, of course, coming up on November 7th of this year, with early voting starting back as early as September 21st. But I can't say I can't do it without you. Our campaign is, of course, open to opportunity and volunteering and or contributing to our campaign through fundraising. And it's easy to find. It's agoodwinforvirginia.com. And it's, of course, we like to say we're always in it for a good win here in Virginia, Senate District 18. So thank you very much for the opportunity.